Okay, so I'm going to take a moment here to talk about the different types in C#. So the types in C# are quite similar to those in Java, and actually I brought over this guy. So we're just going to take a look at the MSDN article on it quick. Okay, so notice that these look like primitive types. There isn't really such thing as a primitive in C#. Bool is just an alias for system.boolean. That being said, C# supports operator overloading and stuff like that, so it looks like, a primitive type. C# allows you to build value types, which, are stored on the stack, and they don't require you to call the keyword new. So we'll start with just Boolean and go down the list, basically. So string will be the exception to the rule for most of these, so we'll come back to that last. Okay. So notice that bool is bool and not boolean in this. That's important. Now, we have most of the number types will have a U for unsigned. Byte is the exception. Byte is unsigned by default, and we have a signed byte as well. Don't mix char and byte, this isn't C. Most of these are the same from Java. Double is intact, float is intact. I would like to talk about decimal real quick. If you're ever doing like base 10 operations where the decimal point matters, like for example money calculations, where you don't want round-off errors from doubles or floats, then you should use a decimal, because this will make sure that your decimal place stays exactly in the place that it ought to. There's no round-off error or anything like that. So as a general rule, if you're modeling something in nature, like physics or something, you should use floats or doubles. And if you're trying to give a value to something man-made, you should probably use a decimal. So for stuff like money. Int and uint. Notice these are 32-bit integers. We have longs, which are 64. We have shorts, which are 16. Object is the base class that all other classes extend from. Note that object is not a value type like these other types I was describing earlier, so you have to use the keyword new to put this in memory. Same with string. String is really quite similar to string in Java. However, in order to, I guess, make it probably more welcoming to new people, they made it look like a primitive type. Don't be fooled, this is just an alias for the capital S string. It works just like it does in Java. As a general rule, if you're making a string data type, you want to use lowercase s string. If you're calling a static string method, you're going to want to use the capital S string. So if you're using string library functions that are instance independent, static ones, you're going to use capital S string. So I'm not going to get into operator overloading, but I want you to know that it exists. So if we were creating a new class, like number, I don't really know how to do this because I don't do it very often, but see, operator is a keyword built in, and we could make something that looks like, if we had numbers, we'd have n plus, holy moly, n plus m, and we could have this, actually evaluate to a valid expression with operator overloading. If you're curious and, you want to make something do that, if you want to be able to use, plus or minus or divide times, I don't know if you can override dot or not, overload dot or not, but probably not. But if you want to do anything like that, override an operator, you certainly can do that, the bit shifts. So feel free to Google away. So I just want to go back to this and elaborate on it a little bit. So note that when we shortened everything to this, when we shortened our properties to this, it really expands to that longer property expression that we showed you earlier. Okay. We'll keep this one short, and we'll start exploring a little bit more of Visual Studio next time.